Okay, great. So the one thing I'll mention to you about doing the movement section in the program is that you would choose a couple of activities and you would give obviously your families, whether virtually or in person, you would give them enough time to like work through those activities together. Because we're doing a demonstration as adults today, I'm going to give you more ideas and demonstrations than you would normally ever put into one program. So just so you know, we're going to move through things a bit faster than you ever would when you're trying to let families engage. So don't get the wrong idea. You don't need to speed through normally. Okay, so I'm going to make sure you guys can see me. Okay, so if everybody wants to get down on their hands and knees. And first we're going to stretch our backs up tall, 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 just like a kitty cat. So you can arch your back up and you can say, meow, give it a good stretch. Meow, 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 meow. And when you drop your tummy down, sometimes we call it a cow stretch. So we're going to moo like a cow. Moo. I can't hear you, but I'm assuming you're following along. Okay, one more time. Meow, all the way up to the top. And moo, stretch it down. Okay, great. And these are things that are working us through the balance section of a movement skill. Another activity that we can do is sometimes we call it Superman. And so in the same position of our hands and knees, see what happens when we lift up one arm. And of course, for kids who are 1, 2, and 3, lifting up one arm can actually be quite a balance challenge. But we're big kids, so we're going to try a second level challenge. See what happens if you leave that arm up and you stretch out one of your legs up off the ground. And see if you can reach your fingertips to the wall in front of you. Maybe you can give mom a tickle, 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 tickle. Or maybe you can reach somebody's tickly toes, tickle, 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 tickle. And see if you can stretch your leg way behind you. See if you can give it a little jiggle, 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 shake, shake, shake. Wow, good job, everybody. Good balancing. Okay, now let's try the other side. Reach with that other hand. Hi, everybody. Give it a good reach, reach, reach all the way out. See if you can stretch your shoulder blade away from your ear. Stretch, stretch, stretch. And, okay, big kids, let's see if we can lift up a leg. We're going to balance on one leg and one foot. Big, long stretch. Now make sure you find somebody to give a little tickle, 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 especially if you've got kids and their parents playing together. This is a great way to get people to stretch extra far. Tickle, 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 tickle with your fingers and stretch those toes behind you nice and long. Oh, good job. We just balanced our bodies only on one hand and one foot. That was a really good job. Now that we're all warmed up, we're moving in all sorts of different ways. I'm going to can I share a screen?
Yes,
I can.
absolutely.
Great. So get your creative boots on. We are going to pretend to be some fun animals. Now, we already got some practice from Catherine's really great song there, but let's see what happens. Who can hop around in their living room like a frog? And you're welcome to share your voice, your microphone, and give us the frog sound. Ribbit, ribbit, rap, rap, ribbit. Ribbit, I know. Ribbit. I'm not here anymore. I hope you guys can see me. Oh, there I am. Ribbit, ribbit. Good hopping, everybody. And you can be a tiny little frog with just little baby hops, or maybe you're a really long frog like the guy in the picture, and you can stretch your legs out for a big, big, tall jump. Good job. Now, we have a new picture to look at. Feel free to be creative. I'd love to hear what you think, what sound you think a crab makes. But let's see if we can move around in our living room or on the floor like a crab. So lots of us might have learned this kind of a crab walk. Boop, 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 boop. Boop, 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 boop. Pretty advanced for little guys. So you may have 1 or 2-year-olds who want to just move like a crab like this. My 5-year-old likes to do this when we play what's the crab game. Any interpretation is fine. All right, I want one good sound effect. Oh, I like yours, Chris. Does it go click, 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 click? Oh, this might be a fun place for kids to try snapping their fingers. It's a hard hard thing to practice, but maybe crabs go click, click, click. I don't know. Okay, now this is a piggy. We know what sound he makes, or at least we have lots of ideas. I don't know, he looks like he's kind of running and hopping in this picture. You can move any way you think a piggy moves. Or maybe he's gonna go digging in the mud. Of course, if you show these pictures to your 1 to 4-year-olds, you're gonna get all sorts of wild interpretations. I'll share a couple other ones. Well, we know puppies, so let's have a little woof. Maybe they run, maybe puppies like to run, woof, woof. Or maybe puppies like to only sit on their feet. Could you sit on your feet like a puppy and beg with your puppy dog eyes to mommy? Mommy, can I have another cookie? I don't know. Whatever they come up with, right? Well, we know bunnies. Let's see. Oh, sheep. This is a good one. Okay. Now you could set this up ahead of time, wanting to do an activity with this animal. If you had something that you could put down in front, you could ask your sheep to jump over the fence that you've set up for them. Or you can, of course, if you're doing it virtually, have mom put something down for them or dad put a pillow down. But let's see, sheep, can we jump over something in our room? 1. Maybe we count to 3. 2. Oh my goodness. How did I set myself up to do this? All right. And number 3. Whoa. Okay. So glad nobody's watching me doing this. That's another activity that you could do is sharing the animal cards. Of course, I found these just on what's the right word, clip art program that you can use to find different images. Any image will do. You can even just say the words if you don't have pictures to share. But getting kids to act as animals will get them to practice lots of different kinds of movements like jumping and running and hopping. And oh, I'm out of breath. Okay. Now, I would like to show you when you're playing some different games, the difference between jumping and hopping and leaping. So the kids don't care. It doesn't matter. They don't need to know what they're called, but it's nice for us to know when we're playing games. And it's nice to share those words and give demonstration of practicing the 3 different things. So hopping is 2 feet and you're staying in one spot. So everybody can give me a hop. Let's hop like a bunny. And the next one is jumping. Now you can jump from your own 2 feet and go to a new location. So that's a jump. But the fun thing for playing games and is that you can jump off of something. So it could be off of a pillow. If you're in a gym or if parents will let you try, you can also practice in jumping off something like a couch. And that's a jump. And then a leap is traveling from one foot to the other. So that's why we think of something like a deer leaps from one to the other foot. So you could play a game where you put on music and you ask people to move around the room to that music. So you might say, everybody leap around the room and stop when the music stops, right? So everybody would be practicing and you would show them 1 foot to the other, 1 foot to the other. It doesn't matter about the word as much as it's practicing moving your weight from 1 foot to the other. Okay, and then when the music stops, let's all hop like bunnies next time the music comes on. You ready? La la la, here comes the music, everybody hop like bunnies. And we're practicing those different movements one after the other to get the feeling of why they're different from each other. Then the music stopped and she caught her breath. And this time we jump. So I'm trying to think, yeah, so everybody find something nice to jump from. You could jump across something. You could travel from on your feet. You could just go across a line. You could jump from your couch. You could also jump across mom's foot. Maybe she'll let you.
Yeah.
So, and in fact, as I say this, a lot of locomotion games like that where you're getting kids to try something and compare them from one movement to the other, playing that game with music on and off is actually a really great prompt as a way of making it an activity. I'll give you an idea for practicing throwing and catching. So of course, I'm showing you a virtual version of this in a gym, in a big space. You can play throwing and catching in a lot of more creative ways. but I will show you a progression. So we think of throwing and catching. Sorrel, talk to you first. So when we think of throwing and catching, we think of the final movement of like throwing something like that and receiving something in the air and catching it in a very straightforward way. But there's a lot of steps to learning how to throw and catch. So for our little guys, 1 to 4, one of the best ways to start is rolling. So at home, you can get families to collect stuffies and socks or recycling yogurt containers, anything that people have around. And this is a nice game to play together between 2 people. My little one can sit in front of me. We can sit with our legs apart. We can have our toes touching, and we can start by rolling things to each other.
Mhm.
So first, we're getting a chance to push and propel something towards somebody. And then our parent is going to give it back to us, and we can practice receiving it, which means we're going to help our eyes practice seeing the object coming, moving our hands into the place to receive it. And that's actually the very basic start of practicing that throwing and catching. A lot of it has to do with our eyes. And the only way to practice it, or the only way to learn it, I should say, is by practicing it over and over again. But it doesn't have to look like catch on the baseball field. And of course, you can move your progressions up. So if you have little ones that are getting comfortable with the rolling and they start rolling at other places and making you chase it all around the room, they're ready to move up to something a little bit harder. So throwing and catching, you can of course move up to your knees and start passing it back and forth off of the floor. So a gentle toss, underhand is where you're going to start with that. Tossing to each other like that. And then of course, your partner is going to pass it back to you and there's a chance to catch that. And then of course, the next progression is standing up and doing the same thing. So standing up and doing it underhanded, and then your body is actually doing other things beyond being on the floor. Now your body is balancing on 2 feet. It's moving farther to catch and receive something. So there's more interactions taking place in your body as you move up the progressions. Another trick for throwing and catching that I'll share with you is that using slower moving objects is a great way to practice once you get up off the ground and you're not rolling anymore. I didn't bring a balloon today because I figured you as participants wouldn't all have a balloon ready to play with. But so fast. When you play with a balloon or even some of the, like a beach ball and some of the sort of softer, I'm trying to think of how to put it, but they almost look like pretend snowballs. They're much softer and lighter than a regular plastic ball. They move slower in air. And so they give kids more chance to actually see it coming and catch it. So playing that game up in the air with a balloon is a great idea. And the other thing that works really well for it, I'll make one right in front of you. So if you have a scarf or a big t-shirt, for example, that says Communities for Families on it, you can stick a ball, a sock, anything inside of the t-shirt, and then you could either put an elastic band or tie a knot, however your piece of fabric works the best. But a ball that has a long tail also is a great way to play throwing and catching games and practicing with little ones, because there's way more surface area to grab, meaning that there's more chance for success. So the game is more fun for little ones because they just get a chance to win at it more often, right? Because it's not tied, I won't throw it necessarily, but you can see that you do need a weight. So just tossing scarves, you can do that. You could toss scarves in the air and play catch, but it's really hard to pass them to each other without a weight in the scarf. Kicking is one of the next skills. So in a gym, this is a super easy activity because I think you, as facilitators who work with kids already, if you put a bunch of balls in a room, kids will run around and kick them and they will have a great time and they will pass it to each other and they will trip over them and they will kick a ball if you give it to them. We're in our living rooms at the moment and probably for a little while longer. And so coming up for activities to kick gets a little bit trickier. You don't necessarily want the object that we're playing with to move because it might kick over a lamp or, we're playing in our living rooms. The thing we're practicing with kicking is the eye coordination of being able to see an object and then connecting our foot with it. And then of course, the second part of that is actually propelling the object with power from our foot. So we can practice by first practicing the coordination of that. So you could ask little ones to see, can you stand on one foot? Maybe you guys can all try this. Starting this on your living room floor. I don't know what's in front of you. Maybe you have some socks. Maybe you have a carpet that has a pattern on it. Lift up one foot and see if you can find something in front of you to just tap with your toe. See how many things you can tap with your toe, and then you'll probably have to put your foot down to catch your balance. So you can try that. Because I don't know what's in front of you, it's kind of tricky, but practicing the balance of lifting one foot and using your eyes to see where you're going to touch with your toe, that actually takes a lot of practice for a little kid to not just totally fall over. So we start by tapping and telling our toe where to go. The next thing you can do, of course, is, can you move it? Can you actually get enough power out of your leg while balancing to move the object? If you have a space that is safe to do that, like if parents are comfortable with that, of course you can play kicking back and forth to each other. But something that works really well is using a bit of a target. Because of course, we've all been locked inside for a long time. We got a lot of pent-up energy. But finding a way, you can make an activity about it too before. You could even have your families prepare. I need you guys to decorate ahead of time a fancy bright target because we're going to have target practice. You could do this with throwing and catching too, of course. You could do something, this is very small, but just the idea of setting up a target. You could even do different colors. These are just little colored stickies that I have in front of me. But see, now I have 3 different targets. So I could say, kids, first, let's see if we can use our right foot. We're going to see if we can touch one. Put your foot down and then move over and see if you can touch another one and do the other one. And now try the other leg. I bet the second one isn't as easy or don't have the same balance on 2 different feet. Could try kicking those. And now, if kids are like, too easy, I'm bored, make it harder. Say, can you lift your foot, stay in one spot, and can you kick all 3 spots before you tip over? So 1, 2, whoa, 3, super far away. It's not the same as kicking a soccer ball around with your friends in the gym, but it will help to practice the skill so that when they have the chance to go outside perhaps, or if you're doing some outdoor play where you can do bigger muscular play, where you can really kick and keep practicing that same skill outside. Yeah, and so couches, pillows, safe things to kick, that's the place to go. Striking is hitting, but we tell kids not to hit. So when we practice this skill, we talk about striking, and all it means is it's similar to what we were doing with kicking, is that we have an object. So that's actually the second stage. We actually are taking our hands and moving something with it, connecting with something else outside of ourselves. That is striking. So you could be hitting a spot on the wall with your very own hand. But usually what happens when we go to play games later is we're either using our hand to move something or we're using an object, right? So the most obvious is like a baseball bat. That is obviously striking. But that skill gets used in a lot of different ways. So you could use, I think it's Awa, brilliant Awa, who came up with the great game of putting little stickers on the floor and using a fly swatter and letting kids go around and smack the different stickers or the bugs that are on the floor. That's a perfect striking game for little kids. Plus you've given them a tool to play with that usually they're not allowed to play with. So that is great. You can play striking games with pool noodles. People are less likely to get hurt with a pool noodle. And so again, if you have balls or socks or things that you can play with in the smaller space that you're in, those are a great way to play a striking game. But if you're in a bigger space, you could use balloons. It's a great, they go far. Actually, that'll work in a living room too. You can use balloons and you can start with your hands. So very, very little 1-year-old, if you give them a balloon to play with, there's a throwing and catching element, it's the tracking, but you can also play balloon, passing back and forth with your hand. So it's sort of throwing and catching, but because of the way it floats to them, they're actually striking, they're not catching. So that is one of the best ways to practice that. When you go outside, playing with bubbles is also a way of practicing striking. So trying to catch the bubbles with your hands, because we're never catching them, right? But we're practicing making connection with them in space as they move towards us. And Here, let's do something together. We're going to do a bit of what would be considered sort of a body management activity. So everybody, I can't see you, so don't worry, you're on your own. I don't get to see your great contortions, but think of the first letter in your name and see if you can make your body make that name. So this is tricky, especially for little ones who are figuring out, okay, which way do I need to make my arm go? So I'm a K, so I need to have one arm, my body's the straight part, and then I have one part, and then I have something that goes out there to make a K. Okay, can I do it? And then see if you can do it on the opposite. Mine is one that has an opposite side. See if you have an opposite way to make your letter go to the opposite side. All right, now think of a letter in your last name that you'd like to use. I'm gonna try and make an A for Anderson. And very tricky. And you can do this standing up as I am, but you could also do this laying on the floor. So having kids, you could lay down and say, it's a great way to start. If you feel like kids are not, if they're quite little, you can have them start laying down. So you could try and make the letter K lay down. It's very tricky. Or let's see, maybe I can make the letter A and my legs. And of course, little ones don't necessarily have the letters to be able to be practicing. So you can think of, you could use shapes. Everybody turn their body into a snake shape. Everybody turn their body into a square. See if you can figure out how to do that. Maybe let's try that. That seems hard. That seems hard enough for us grown-ups. Let's see if we can turn our bodies into a square. My arm's a square. I don't think I know how to make my, can I do that? Well, it's a rectangle of sorts. I don't know. You get the idea. Practicing, connecting the idea you have in your mind with how you want your body to move is really what you're practicing with body management. So this is just one way to do that. So I think that I've given you like a rough idea of a few activities or ways that you can play with each skill set. I'm sure you've talked about the manual, but there is a good explanation of movement skills and why physical literacy and movement skills are important on page 23 and 24. And then of course on page 26 and forward, each area, so balancing, throwing and kicking, each movement skill has a list of the progressions to learning that activity, or that movement I should say, and actual activities and games. Ideally, when you plan a session, pick one to focus on. Pick one movement skill that you're focusing on and try to repeat it a few times within one session so that kids get a chance to practice. So if you play a game where you hop like a bunny, or you sing, you sing a song where you hop like bunnies, you could try and hop in one of the games that you choose to play later so kids get a chance to get better and better at the same skill. Of course, don't feel like you have to be purists about it. If you choose balancing for one day, but one of your games has some great jumping in it, don't worry, that's a great thing. That's life, that's playing, is mixing it all up. The only reason I suggest to focus is so that there's more repetition for kids, because that's what makes us feel successful and confident and makes us want to keep playing and enjoy being active, right? So that's the thing there. You guys have done a great job. Ladies in the background who've done this a million times, are there some activities or things that you'd really like a demonstration of while I'm here before I do a cool down? Am I forgetting something crucial?
I'm just wondering, Katie, if you can explain maybe body management a little bit more, because that's something we get asked about a lot.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, and actually those of us who work with really little kids, body management is one of the sort of the hardest ones. It's helping your body move through space, stopping and changing direction. It's learning when you hear the words moving up, moving down, moving sideways, becoming small, being really big. It is also figuring out how to shift and bear weight on different limbs, like your arms and legs during movement. So it is figuring out how to control and move your body. So I'm trying to think of a good example. So the reason I'm not doing the music activities with you, even though they're really good, they're really hard to make work in the virtual environment. I haven't been very lucky at that, having the sound translate. But if we, a great game is of course the stop start of music. And when the music goes on, we're gonna try this. And then you let kids and families play the game that you've suggested, and then the music goes off and everybody gets to giggle because they fell over and all the things. And then you get to try something different. So body management is actually, that's one of the best ways to play with that learning. So if I said to you, okay, everybody's gonna move around the room really small. So I want you guys to try it. I can't see you. Go ahead, move around the room and be as small as you can. Kids will come up with the craziest, funniest ways of being small because they're practicing and figuring it out, right? So super tiny little ones. And then the music goes off. We've all danced around as small creatures. Now the music goes, wow, you guys did such a good job. Were you little tiny mice? I thought I could hear some scurrying. Okay, this time when the music goes on, let's try and be super tall. So how tall can you be? And then you put your music on and let them be tall. So be as tall. Maybe they're up on their tiptoes. I don't know. Maybe they're reaching on one foot. Maybe they're saying, Mom, pick me up, make me taller, make me taller. Okay, the music's off. And now this time, see if you can make your body really wide. What does that mean? Let's see if we can make our bodies wide, not big, but wide. How far apart from one side to the other can you make your body? Whoa. Okay, grown-ups, I'm not gonna do the splits for you, but that's the idea. So maybe if I reach one side, I'll get wider. Oh, can I reach to the other side and get super wide? Oh, thank goodness the music went off. Okay, and then we could try and make our body very light. Let's see, what does it look like if we move around? Oh, I'm floating, I'm so light. It's like, I don't weigh anything at all. I'm floating like a balloon or a bubble or a fairy. Oh, twinkle, twinkle. And kids will enjoy doing that, and they'll bump into each other and all the fun things, which is also part of body management. Does that help answer your question, Amna?
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, great. And there are some ideas on page 30, very specifically about how to play. Oh, okay, I promised you. Actually, we have to do this because I promised yesterday. We're going to make you roll around like 3-year-olds. So another body management activity is, and you will be amazed at how hard this is, even for 5-year-olds, to, can you lay down at one end of the mat or at one end of your living room and be, I can't because my room's tiny, but be as small, as long as a pencil, as straight as a pencil, and see if you can roll all the way to the other side. I have yet to meet a kid under the age of 10 can do that in a straight line. Like, it's actually really tricky to tell your body in a super long format to roll straight. We don't naturally do it. Even if you watch us roll down a hill in the summer with a big long lawn, we always go off to one side. So you could put a line, you could draw, you could put a line with tape, you could put a yoga mat that's nice and straight, you could pick along the wall, like see if you can roll with your hands touching the wall the whole way. Very tricky body management and a fun activity because kids like to roll around. Any other questions before I do a cool down? No. People are like, please stop making me roll around like a 3-year-old. Okay, that's the fun of it. Okay, so I have a couple things that we do. Kids, one of the favorite ones that gets used in most of the programs, of course, is the candle and the flower. So reach into your cupboard and grab your favorite pretty candle. You can decide what color it is and how tall it is. You can imagine it. And now with this other hand, let's reach out into the field and grab our favorite bunch of flowers. I think I picked a red candle and I think I picked purple flowers today. Okay, so to calm our breath and help our body catch up to all the really good, hard, strong work that we did today, first we're going to blow out the candle. How far you can make your breath go. And now we're gonna sniff the flowers. Ready? And now we're gonna blow out the candle. Okay, ready? Here come the flowers. Now, whatever you do, don't sniff the candle because it'll burn your nose. Ouch, 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 be careful. Right, we gotta, which one? Wait, blow the candle. sniff the flowers. Oh, but by helping kids practice feeling their breath in and feeling their breath out, it helps slow our heart down. It helps cool our skin. It also is partly about awareness. So it's slowing our bodies physically, but it's also drawing awareness to the, how can I, when I'm up here and I feel really excited, breathing is something that helps my body slow down. Because in practicing movement skills, we're also becoming more and more aware of how our bodies work, right? I would say in cool down, I always like to remind those running programs to, like, when we're sweaty and we're hot and we feel tired, let's say good things about it. Let's say, oh, wow, my body's way stronger than I thought it was. And wow, my body helped me play and have so much fun today. Because we have so many nasty ways of talking about it, like, oh, I'm not strong enough, or I'm never going to learn how to do that, or I'm all sweaty and gross. We want to really avoid talking about that. And we want to, like, celebrate that our bodies are strong and help us play, so that kids keep wanting to play and be active, right? Just a reminder. Here's another nice cool down that I like to do. So let's get our bodies, we can stand up for this one. Let's be as thin as a pencil and as small as a mouse. Squeak, 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 squeak. And as tall as a tree. You can put your branches out. Float your branches out super, super tall. Wave your branches. And as wide as a house. Okay, we'll try one more time. Ready? Here we go. Tall as a pencil. Small as a mouse. Tall as a tree. And as wide as a house. There we go. And I'm trying to think, there's lots of nice cool down songs too that you can sing together as a group. These are just suggestions. All of these activities and these cool down activities, like they're just ones that we have done and have been successful. But if your families or in your program that you're used to delivering, you have ideas that fit, please, like, you don't have to do this cool down activity, my pencil and mouse and tree and a house, like that's just one idea. So I don't know, I'm happy if anybody has any questions or there's something I did that didn't make sense or whatever, you're very welcome to ask. Thank you for your participation. I'm assuming I had a few players that I couldn't see. So I'll say thank you. I hope I wasn't all by myself.
That's quite a workout, I must say.
Yes, it
Gym
is.
session in itself.
That's great. We should be, if we're playing for 20 or 30 minutes in the program, it's good. We should be out of breath. We should be, especially those of us leading, because we're talking and doing it at the same time. So if you're tired, that's great. That means you're doing a good job for your families. This is also a really good time. So this is where normally in the program you would either, you would cool down and you would either break for snacks. Some programs include reading at this time. This is where you let families know, please get a drink of water if you want. It's really important. Especially kids, their bodies heat up way faster than our adult bodies. They will need a drink of water and they will need time to cool down. Yeah.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I just liked that when you were going through the animals and people doing the actions of the animals, that it's kind of left into like to their interpretation. Like when you went to the crab and kind of gave the different examples of what a crab might look like to that person. It's just nice that they had like the different ideas of what a crab might look like clicking their fingers or the crab walk like I would have done. I like that. I like that, you know, people can do kind of their interpretation of what the animal might look like or how they might move and different things like that.
Yeah, and it's important. Like I know, like I learned the very specific from gymnastics as a kid, right? I learned what a crab walk was. I learned what a bear walk is. And those are fine for the age group that we're working with. Like, and those skills can be practiced later when they get to that more refined learning of movement. But these are preschool kids. So a lot of those activities that you and I learned, that's older than 1 to 4. So for a kid to actually move their body into that crab position or to like the bear where your arms and legs must be straight and you have to move, like it's really, really hard for little ones. So on both fronts, like so sort of developmentally, it's important to leave that flexibility because of kids will be at different ages, but also of course from a creative perspective, like my interpretation is not the only one. So And
And
you
I
guys
think-
as leaders, you'll bring that, right?
Yeah.
Like you'll have your own version of it when you run a program, and it'll be different than what I chose.
And I think remembering too that even with some of like the groups that I've been a part of and everything too, there may be some people too that might not have the ability to do some of these movements. So just leaving it kind of open for people is just a really great thing. So I like that.
That's great. And it actually, Ashley, your point, it reminds me also that as leaders in this program, we have to remember that the most important thing that we're tuning into with families is getting parents to buy in and for parents to participate, because that's actually the #1 way to get their kids to engage and play. So if an adult is going along with it, then the child will be so much more interested, right? And so we know that as adults in our own adult minds, lots of us have all sorts of baggage about being physically active, and if we're good enough at it, or if we're strong enough, or like, oh no, I'm not really that kind of a person, I'm not an active person. That's going on for lots of us. And so we want to be really cautious in the way we present material to the parents, that they are welcome to come to this no matter what skill set they bring, no matter how comfortable or how good they are at it, like that we're really doing it in a playful, open way. So I'm sure you've been talking about this throughout the week, so I won't belabor it, but it's a big part of what you're doing actually, is making the program accessible to adults too.
Does
Katie, I was just wondering if I could ask you a question.
Yeah, of course.
We were talking about, some of the great gross movement skills that you can use with a pool noodle and a balloon, and the kids with learning striking and that sort of thing. Like, what are your recommendations around balloons? Like, if we're making up kits for families, like how do you feel about the whole balloon issue?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, especially if you're making up kits to send home and you're not supervising the activity. I mean, I think that when we buy balloons in the store, I think they say on them they're not for kids under 3 without supervision. So you could put an extra reminder, like you might put them in a package separate and put a piece of paper in that just remember, this is the same as any balloon, and it has that, like, really make sure you supervise kids when they're playing with it and that they don't put them in their mouths. I've also encountered lots of parents who are like, I don't do balloons, like they freak me out, I don't want them. And so I guess just make sure they're packaged in a way that a parent gets to choose.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's great.
yeah, I think so. And the other thing I would say in terms of other reminders, bubbles is one, especially when you're back to a bigger space like a gym. One of the lessons from that is that bubbles make the floor very slippery, quite dangerous. So it's a really good outdoor activity. And if you're doing it inside, you have to mitigate that. Of course, you have to clean it up after, which is also a pain, but it can actually be dangerous in an indoor environment. Does anyone else have experience with balloons or other things that we should remember to talk about? All right. I don't know, in a childcare setting, is it Colleen? Is it you're in a childcare environment, right? Or do you permit the use of balloons or bubbles and things like that?
We definitely use bubbles. We haven't since COVID, but they are a huge thing we use, especially on our infant wing. They love to chase them and catch them. And then for balloons, we don't, just because of allergies, latex allergies and things like that, we're cautious, but we do use balloons for certain things, but not very often.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the big piece is supervision, right? So you really want to make sure if you do share them that it's super clear that, yeah, that they.
Well, we did an activity, actually, one of the classrooms was talking about bodies, and so they made like lungs, and it was like 2-year-olds, and they were blowing into the straws, and the balloons were going bigger. It was very cool, and yeah, they loved it. So we use them for things like that.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Katie, in our daycare, balloons are big no-no.
Yeah.
Because of supervision issues, right?
Right. And that's the thing. I mean, when you go back to being in a facility, a public facility where, like, whether you're in a school gym or otherwise, community center, some of those places will also have policies, just like they might about specific allergens. So you may not have an allergy in your program, but the school may not allow you to bring certain foods. Probably similar with something like balloons. Yeah.
Any other questions? You guys all tired out now? Is it only me?
Katie, we found a very good alternative to balloons and things like that are those really light weight scarves. And they are just amazing to play with. They're reusable, so there's no environmental concerns with them, and just loads of fun with those.
That's a great idea. It's true. You can, they do have that sort of lofty, floaty quality, and you're right, they're reusable. If you have the ability to share those like in kits that are going out to families, that's great because they'll have a longer play life as well for kids. Yeah.
Katie, thank you so much for coming today. It's been
Oh, you're welcome. It's enjoyable. Get me moving. Get me off of my desk. Get me moving around. It's good. Thank you very much for your time, guys. Enjoy the rest of the program. And of course, beyond this, if anyone has questions or things they're curious about, you're always welcome to get in touch. So, yeah.
Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome.
Around, we're just going to do the munch minutes. We were going to show your hard work in terms of creating that. So just, join us for that part if you're still free to join us.
Oh, sure. Sure.
Perfect.
Okay, it's tricky because we don't have, you can just show participants how the website works. So, and tell them that they can download resources from the website, like nutrition resources, snack ideas. This is a good thing to do. Another, I will share one of the folders. For example, here you have tips how to entertain your children while you're preparing a snack. For example, you can sing a rhyme, or you can call them to help you if the child's a little bit older, just wash some fruits or maybe cut some vegetables with you. It's a good way to put the family together. And you can also choose one item and just talk about it. For example, egg. You can say that egg is a protein, is a great source of vitamin D, and that vitamin D is really a great a boost for your immune system. Now for us, this is awesome. And also for you to have healthy muscles. And it's really a good, you can use egg to do anything you want, like cakes, pancakes, and even just eat in different ways. Like I prepare something to show to you what you can do with an egg. I don't know if you can see. Like you can just try to do like a funny animal. You can do like egg salad. Just put the plain egg for the child to try. I will share my my photo here just to be more clear. So this is an option. You can 4 different ways to serve a simple egg at home. So this is the kind of thing that you can do online. It's simple. You are giving new ideas. You can put like a dress here on the top of my egg salad. I put a little bit of dew. So yeah, tips like this. Choose one item and just talk with parents about benefits. And you can also teach them how to sing. For example, the wash your hands. I love this music. It's stuck in my head. So sometimes I go to wash my hand and I'm singing. So it's something that could help at home because it is really challenging to like ask your children to wash their hands. So if you want to try, with me. You can just, you know, the lyrics is like, wash, wash, wash your hands many times a day. Scrub and rub and rinse and dry and throw the germs away. So this is something cute and funny, and you can do movements, and at home you can just sing this song every time you want your children to wash their hands, and will help you for sure. So this is my idea, our idea, how you can use this time for the Munch Minute. Any other tip, Katie?
No, there's lots of ideas that are already there on the website, but the only thing I'd say about the Munch Minute is if you have something that we haven't made a poster about, go ahead and talk about it, make your own poster. Like, you don't have to stick to the series that we've created. Those were just meant as helpers, but you may have a conversation amongst your group where there is a recurring need for more information about a specific thing. And taking a little bit of time to collect that and share it would be better than sharing some canned item that we've made ahead of time. So
Yeah, great.
and it can be nutritional information like Chris has offered, like ideas for snacks for other times, especially virtually. Like, that's tricky because we're not eating together.
Yeah.
But you can also talk about parenting or movement or being active together or getting outside, like whatever is of interest to your families.
Yeah, thank you.